There is a simple action you can perform to find your hidden genius, an undiscovered talent that will improve the quality of your life tremendously. Imagine no longer feeling like a loser, like someone who never is really going to succeed. Your life can be filled with a purpose, and it will feel better than any fleeting drink, drug, or temptation. Famous psychologist Carl Jung did this exact thing before he went on to write his groundbreaking books and essays. You can also use this same method to realize your best life. After being depressed and feeling like something was off, Carl Jung, already a respected psychoanalyst, did something seemingly crazy. He began playing with small stones. And no, the answer to finding your destiny isn't becoming an amateur geologist. What it does involve, though, is examining your early years, identifying the activities that you were drawn to and that gave you joy as a young person. In Jung's case, he loved to construct buildings out of rocks as a boy. As you might be thinking, Carl Jung wasn't a famous architect. He was a psychologist. So how does building stuff with rocks have anything to do with eventually becoming one of the greatest minds studying the mind? The journey to finding your genius actually begins thousands of years in the past. The Greeks had a mythology regarding a person's individual genius and from where it came. This idea is a very useful framework to help you start thinking in a way that is conducive to finding your calling. The Greeks believed there was an actual godlike being that was our ally with the goal of guiding us. They called it a daimon. It's very similar to the idea of a guardian angel, only instead of protecting you from harm, the daimon guides you towards your destiny. It's a guiding angel. I appreciate the power of adopting this mythology because it's easier to look for a genius if we see it as something we already possess but need to unlock. Another way to put it is that it's easier to solve a puzzle that is placed in front of us, in this case finding our genius, as opposed to searching the entire universe on our own to find this hidden treasure. When we see ourselves as a manifestation of a greater intelligence, whatever that may be, we can more easily follow a path that has been laid out for us instead of trying to carve out an existence all on our own. A young person who has a strong connection with their daimon has a smooth transition into pursuing the subjects at which they excel. These are the prototypical child prodigies like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart in piano, Judy Garland in performing, or Blaise Pascal in mathematics. For most of us, though, when we are young, we have certain inclinations towards activities, but we're not immediately struck by an overwhelming obsession. These inclinations aren't even necessarily the exact areas we will eventually find ourselves, but they are clues. Jung began playing with pebbles and even engraved images on them. He eventually constructed a house from the large stones where he would eventually live. The simple process of playing with rocks, along with active imagination exercises, unlocked life-changing insights in the legendary psychoanalyst. So you see, finding your genius isn't always about the specific activity you perform, although it can be. Pursuing the things you inherently enjoy will lead to the insights you seek. You might end up in a totally different place eventually, and that's okay. For example, look at cognitive scientist Dr. Maya Shankar. She started her life as a violin prodigy. She was convinced she would become a concert musician, and she was well on her way to doing that. When a chronic hand injury forced teenage Maya to stop playing, she had a crisis. What was she going to do with her life if she wasn't a violinist? After some reflection, she realized what she loved about playing violin. It was that she was connecting with other people and giving them something positive. She realized that she could do this in various other fields as well, not just in music. She eventually became a cognitive scientist working on policy at the White House. The takeaway is that Dr. Shankar's genius, and possibly ours, is not always on a surface level. Okay, so now that you are exploring interests from your youth, what's next? How do you actually come to these insights about where your genius lies dormant? The first step is to relax and follow your bliss, as mythologist Joseph Campbell would say. In my experience, you will eventually obtain the intuitive insights you seek. Jungian psychologist James Hillman, who actually wrote a whole book on daimons, describes intuitive insights as direct and unmediated knowledge. It's as if you download information from some other place. This knowledge is clear, quick, and with full apprehension. You will absolutely know when your intuition is telling you something. When you're really enjoying what you're doing, your daimon will re-enter your life. This is when synchronicities occur. A synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence. It could be seen as a sign from somewhere unknown. It would be like always hearing a certain song when something good in your life is about to happen. I believe these strange events occur more frequently when we align with our calling and begin pursuing it. And a word of warning, I wouldn't necessarily drop everything in your life to pursue what you think is your passion because your interpretation of your intuition could be wrong. Sure, it works for some, like the painter Gauguin who gave up his career and family to move to Tahiti to paint. But this type of sudden change is very dangerous and should only be approached with extreme caution. For every Gauguin, there are hundreds of others who have ruined their lives. Go slowly and really test your intuitive hunches. So to sum up as simply as possible, After you identify the activities that you were drawn towards as a youth, carve out some time in your schedule to explore them. Even if it's only an hour on the weekend. It could be in the form of reading, taking a class, or whatever. After that, be open to the signs that present themselves to you, and also take some time for self-reflection. Although this is a simple action to perform, it isn't necessarily a quick process. I promise you though, from my own experience, that the sense of fulfillment you will get from finding your hidden genius will be immense. It is the very reason you were put on this earth. I think a big part of our modern day malaise, the depression and anxiety that we especially see in urban centers, stems from the disconnection from our daimons and our everyday lives. When we lose that connection is when we allow for demons, not daimons, to enter our lives. Demons in the form of addiction, anger, and the most demonic manifestation, when we hurt the ones who love us. Good luck on your journey, and I know that you will find your hidden genius if you really put in the time to pursue this noble goal.